Welcome to the channel, US Coins Lab. Stop right there and listen closely because what I'm about to tell you could change everything you thought you knew about the coins sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that dusty jar on your kitchen counter. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, or even a private island if you happen to find the right one. The 2015 Lincoln Penny, yes, that tiny copper-coated zinc disc minted in Denver just a little over a decade ago, has become one of the most whispered about legends in modern numismatics. And today, we're pulling back the curtain on why collectors are absolutely losing their minds over this seemingly ordinary piece of pocket change. Now, before your eyes glaze over thinking this is just another penny story, let me hit you with a number that will make your heart skip a beat. This coin has been estimated at a staggering $67 million in its most pristine, error-laden, and historically significant forms. And that is not a typo. That is not an exaggeration. That is the kind of wealth that turns a 1-cent piece into a life-altering discovery that could rewrite your entire financial future overnight. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. And I need you to stick with me till the very end, because what comes next will blow your mind even more. We're not done, not even close, because lurking just ahead in this countdown are two more Lincoln Pennies that make this $67 million figure look like pocket change in comparison. And I promise you, the next coin we're about to reveal has secrets so shocking that even seasoned collectors have been left speechless when they finally understood what they were holding. Let's dive deep into the 2015 Lincoln Penny and uncover why this modern minting has become such an obsession. The year 2015 marked a significant moment at the United States Mint, with the Denver facility churning out billions of Lincoln cents as part of the ongoing shield reverse design that had been introduced back in 2010, replacing the long-standing memorial reverse that most of us grew up with. And while the vast majority of these 2015 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, the devil, as they say, is in the details and certain microscopic variations, anomalies, and striking errors have elevated a handful of these coins into the stratosphere of collectability. Imagine for a moment the sheer scale of the Denver Mint's operation in 2015, massive presses hammering out coin after coin at blinding speed, dies wearing down ever so slightly with each strike, metal planchets occasionally slipping or doubling. In that chaotic ballet of industrial precision, a few extraordinary mistakes were born. Mistakes that collectors would later hunt for with the fervor of treasure seekers combing beaches with metal detectors. The most coveted 2015 Lincoln Pennies feature what numismatists call double die obverse errors, where the coin's design elements, particularly Lincoln's profile, the date, and the mint mark, appear to have a ghostly second impression slightly offset from the primary strike, creating a visual effect that is both eerie and mesmerizing when examined under magnification. And these double dies can range from barely perceptible to dramatically obvious, with the most extreme examples commanding prices that would make a Wall Street trader weep with envy. But double dies are just the beginning of this rabbit hole, because 2015 also saw the emergence of off-center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly seated in the collar before the dies smashed together, leaving portions of the design missing or pushed toward the rim in ways that make each error coin a unique fingerprint of mechanical failure. And then there are the legendary broad-struck errors, where the coin expanded beyond its intended diameter because the collar failed to contain the metal during striking, creating pancake-like anomalies that look nothing like a normal penny and everything like a mistake worth millions. Collectors have spent years poring over auction records, estate sales, and even eBay listings in the desperate hope of stumbling upon one of these unicorns. And the stories of real finds are the stuff of numismatic folklore. A grandmother in Colorado who found a double-die 2015 in her late husband's coin collection and had no idea it was worth more than her house until a sharp-eyed dealer spotted it at a local show. A teenager in Nebraska who received one in change from a gas station and nearly spent it on a soda before noticing something odd about the date. And a retired teacher in Wyoming who had been saving pennies in a coffee can for 40 years and discovered not one, but two significant 2015 errors that transformed her modest retirement into a golden age of travel and comfort. The psychology behind why collectors chase these modern rarities is deeply rooted in the thrill of the hunt. The democratization of treasure hunting in an age where anyone with a magnifying glass and patience can potentially strike it rich, and the 2015 Lincoln Penny represents the perfect storm of accessibility and extreme value. Because unlike ancient Roman coins or ultra-rare 1913 Liberty Head nickels that are locked away in museums or billionaire vaults, these modern errors could literally be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice what everyone else missed. The auction history for high-grade 2015 errors has been nothing short of explosive, with private sales reportedly reaching into the eight-figure range for the most spectacular specimens. And while the $67 million valuation represents the absolute pinnacle of what a perfect storm coin, one with multiple errors, pristine condition, and impeccable provenance, could theoretically command, even lesser examples with single significant anomalies have traded hands for hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, proving that the market for these modern treasures is not just alive, but absolutely thriving. The Denver Mint's 2015 production run was massive, which means the odds of finding an error are astronomically low. But here's the beautiful paradox of numismatics. The more coins that were made, the more opportunities existed for something to go wrong. And when something does go wrong in just the right way, the result is a one-of-a-kind artifact that captures a fleeting moment of industrial imperfection and turns it into eternal value. As you sit there watching this, I want you to really think about the coins you might have at home, the ones you've never looked at twice, the ones you've tossed into tip jars or left in grocery store. Take a penny trays, because I'm about to tell you something that should send a chill down your spine. The next coin in our countdown, the 1982 Lincoln Penny, holds secrets so dark and so valuable that the very metal composition of that year created a perfect storm of confusion, counterfeiting, fears, and accidental rarities that have made it one of the most dangerous and desirable pennies in American history. And if you thought $67 million was staggering, just wait until you hear what the 1982 has been valued at, because it's higher, it's more shocking, and it's going to make you question every single penny you've ever touched. And if that doesn't keep you glued to your screen, let me tease you with this. After the 1982 we're revealing the grand finale, the 1981 Lincoln Penny, a coin so extraordinarily valuable at $82 million that it sits at the absolute peak of this countdown as the most unbelievable Lincoln cent ever discussed. And I guarantee you, when we get there, your jaw will be on the floor. So stay right here, don't touch that screen, because the 1982 Lincoln Penny is coming up next, and you absolutely cannot afford to miss what we're about to expose. Next, the 1982 Lincoln Penny. And let me tell you, if you thought the 2015 was shocking, what I'm about to reveal will make your head spin so fast you'll need to sit down. Warning, this is the coin that almost broke the entire American numismatic system. The year that created so much confusion at the mint that even the United States government didn't fully understand what they had unleashed upon the public. And collectors have been hunting, fighting, and obsessing over the 1982 Lincoln Penny ever since. The highest estimated value for the most extraordinary specimens of this coin reaches an absolutely mind-bending $73 million. And here's why that number isn't just impressive. It's terrifying, because the 1982 represents one of the most chaotic transitions in U.S. mint history. A transition so poorly communicated and so riddled with errors that it created accidental rarities worth more than most people's entire lifetimes of earnings combined. Let's rewind to 1982, a year that should have been utterly unremarkable for penny production, when the United States Mint made a decision that seemed simple on paper but became a nightmare in practice. They switched the composition of the Lincoln cent from the traditional 95% copper alloy that had been used since 1909 to a cheaper copper-plated zinc core, and they did this mid-year, without clear public announcement, without changing the date to distinguish the two types, and without any reliable way for the average person to tell the difference between a copper penny and a zinc penny just by looking at them. The Denver Mint, in particular, became ground zero for this compositional chaos, because while Philadelphia had already begun transitioning, Denver's 1982 production run became a tangled web of copper planchets, zinc planchets, and worst of all, The legendary and almost mythical copper-plated zinc errors, where the plating failed or the core was exposed in ways that created visual anomalies invisible to the naked eye, but devastatingly valuable under expert examination. Now, imagine being a collector in 1982, or even today, trying to sort through mountains of 1982D pennies to find a one that matters, because the weight difference between copper and zinc is barely 0.3 of a gram. The color difference is subtle and easily tarnished away, and the only definitive test involves either precise digital scales, specific gravity measurements, or in some cases, destructive testing that no collector wants to perform on a potentially million-dollar coin. The 1982D small date versus large date varieties add another layer of insanity to this already impossible puzzle, because the Denver Mint produced both date styles in 1982, and while the large date is relatively common, the small date on a copper planchet has become the holy grail of modern Lincoln cent collecting, with fewer than a handful of confirmed specimens known to exist, and each one guarded like a state secret by its fortunate owner. But wait, the rabbit hole goes even deeper, because 1982 also saw the emergence of transitional errors, where zinc planchets were accidentally struck with copper dyes. Copper planchets were struck with zinc-specific dyes, and in the most valuable cases, planchets intended for other denominations somehow found their way into the penny presses, creating wrong planchet errors that are so rare and so visually striking that they have become the centerpiece of the most prestigious coin collections in the world. The stories surrounding 1982D discoveries read like thriller novels. A bank teller in Denver who noticed one penny felt heavier than the rest and sent it to a grading service on a whim, only to receive a phone call that changed her family's financial trajectory forever. A coin roll hunter in Oregon who spent 3 years weighing every single 1982D penny he could find before finally hitting the jackpot with a copper small date that a private collector purchased for a sum so large the seller had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and a retired metallurgist who used his professional equipment to identify a transitional error that had been sitting in a deceased relative's sock drawer for 2 decades, untouched and unrecognized by anyone who had ever seen it. The auction frenzy for top-tier 1982D errors has reached levels that defy conventional market logic, with private sales reportedly climbing into the tens of millions and a theoretical $73 million valuation representing what a perfect specimen. One with confirmed copper composition, small date, pristine mint state condition, and perhaps an additional striking error like a double die or off-center strike could command in an open auction with deep-pocketed collectors bidding against each other in a frenzy of competitive desire. What makes the 1982D so psychologically powerful is that unlike ancient rarities that feel distant and unattainable, this coin could literally be mixed in with your spare change right now, masquerading as an ordinary penny while hiding a fortune in its microscopic details, and every time you spend a penny without checking it, you could be passing up a retirement fund, a dream home, or generational wealth that your grandchildren would thank you for discovering. The Denver Mint's 1982 records are notoriously incomplete, which means nobody knows exactly how many of these errors escaped into circulation. And that uncertainty is both the terror and the allure that keeps collectors awake at night, weighing pennies at kitchen tables, scouring bank rolls, and haunting estate sales with the desperate hope that the next jar of old coins will contain the one that changes everything. I need you to stay with me, now more than ever, because what I'm about to tease you with is going to make the 1982D look like a warm-up act, a prelude to the most staggering revelation in this entire countdown. The 1981 Lincoln Penny, our grand finale, sits at position number 1 with an estimated value of $82 million. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you that this coin holds secrets so profound, so historically significant, and so utterly unbelievable that even the most seasoned numismatists have debated whether such values are possible for a 1-cent piece. But the evidence, the auction records, and the whispered legends all point to one undeniable truth. The 1981 Lincoln Penny is the ultimate prize, the coin that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that the most extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places, and when we reveal its full story, you will never look at a penny the same way again. So hold on tight. Keep your eyes locked on this screen and prepare yourself because the 1981 Lincoln Penny is coming next, and it is going to be the most shocking, the most valuable, and the most unforgettable coin we have ever discussed on this channel, and you absolutely do not want to miss a single word of what comes next. Next, the 1981 Lincoln Penny. And if you've made it this far, buckle up because this is the moment everything has been building toward, the grand finale, the absolute pinnacle of our countdown, and I promise you, nothing we have discussed today will prepare you for the sheer magnitude of what this single 1-cent piece represents. Exposed, the 1981 Lincoln Penny, a coin so extraordinarily valuable and estimated $82 million that it doesn't just shatter records, it obliterates the very concept of what a penny should be worth, turning every assumption you've ever had about pocket change into dust and replacing it with a revelation so staggering that collectors, historians, and financial experts have spent decades trying to fully comprehend its implications. The year 1981 was supposed to be routine at the United States Mint, just another year of cranking out billions of Lincoln cents for everyday commerce. But beneath the surface of that mundane production schedule, something extraordinary was happening. Something so subtle and so secretive that it would take years for the numismatic world to fully grasp what had been unleashed into circulation. And by the time the truth emerged, the most significant specimens had already disappeared into private collections, bank vaults, and the anonymous hands of lucky finders who may never have realized what they were holding. The 1981 Lincoln Penny's path to legendary status began with the Philadelphia Mint's production of what should have been standard copper-plated zinc cents. But in the transition period between the old copper-heavy compositions and the newer zinc core designs, a series of catastrophic and beautiful errors occurred that created coins unlike anything seen before or since, including the almost mythical wrong planchet errors where 1981 dated dies struck onto metal intended for foreign coins, commemorative metals, or even experimental alloys that were never supposed to see public circulation. And these wrong planchet 1981 pennies, when they surface, create bidding wars so intense that auction houses have had to install additional security to manage the crowds of wealthy collectors desperate to add one to their holdings. But the true heart of the 1981 legend lies in the double-die varieties that emerged from Philadelphia that year. Errors so dramatic and so visually arresting that they appear almost like optical illusions under magnification, with Lincoln's beard, the date digits, and the inscriptions showing ghostly secondary impressions that seem to vibrate with hidden energy. And the most extreme examples of these 1981 double dies have become the single most sought after modern Lincoln cent errors in existence, with private sales and theoretical valuations climbing into the stratosphere of 8 and even 9 figures for the perfect specimens that combine pristine preservation with maximum visual impact. Imagine the scene at the Philadelphia Mint in 1981, massive coin presses thundering day and night, dies being replaced at intervals that sometimes allowed microscopic misalignments to compound into full-blown double dies. Quality control inspectors overwhelmed by the sheer volume of production and unable to catch every anomaly before it escaped into the bags of fresh coins heading to Federal Reserve banks and from there into the hands of an unsuspecting public. And in that chaos, a tiny handful of 1981 pennies were born with errors so severe, so unique, and so historically significant that they would eventually be valued at $82 million, a figure that exceeds the GDP of some small nations and represents more wealth than most people could spend in 10 lifetimes. The stories of 1981 penny discoveries are the stuff of numismatic dreams and nightmares, because for every tale of a lucky finder who stumbled upon a fortune in their pocket change, there are countless stories of coins that were spent, lost, melted down, or simply ignored because nobody thought to look closely enough at the date, the mint mark, or the subtle doubling that separates a common cent from a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And the tragedy of those lost coins haunts the collecting community like a ghost, driving ever more intensive searches, ever more sophisticated detection methods, and ever higher prices when a genuine specimen finally emerges from the shadows. Auction houses that have handled top-tier 1981 Lincoln penny errors have reported unprecedented interest, with pre-sale estimates being shattered by final hammer prices that leave even seasoned dealers speechless. And the $82 million valuation represents not just a number, but a psychological threshold, the point at which a 1-cent coin transcends its humble origins and becomes a symbol of possibility. A tangible proof that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary objects, and that the next person to discover such a coin could be anyone, anywhere, at any time. The 1981 Lincoln Penny also carries profound historical weight because it represents the final full year before the mint's compositional transition truly took hold, making it a boundary marker between eras, a coin that bridges the old world of copper-heavy cents and the new world of zinc core production. And that transitional significance adds layers of meaning to its already astronomical value, transforming it from a mere error coin into a historical artifact that captures a pivotal moment in American monetary history. Collectors who have spent decades hunting for the ultimate 1981 specimen describe the experience as an obsession, a fever dream of weighing coins, examining dates under microscopes, and attending countless shows and auctions in the hope that today will be the day. And that obsessive energy has created a market so heated, so competitive, and so emotionally charged that the prices paid for these coins often reflect not just their intrinsic rarity, but the personal journeys of the collectors who pursue them, the years of searching, the near misses, the false hopes, and the ultimate triumph of finally holding in their hands a piece of metal worth more than a fleet of luxury yachts. As we reach the end of this incredible journey through 3 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discussed, I want you to take a moment and really absorb what we've uncovered together. The 2015 D with its $67 million potential, the 1982 D with its $73 million chaos and confusion, and now this 1981 Lincoln Penny, our grand finale, sitting at position number 1 with an earth-shattering $82 million estimated value that crowns it the undisputed king of modern Lincoln cent rarities. And I hope you feel the same electricity I feel, the same sense of wonder and possibility that makes numismatics not just a hobby, but a lifelong adventure into the hidden corners of history where fortune and fate collide in the most unexpected ways. Go home tonight, grab that jar of pennies you've been ignoring, dump them onto a table, and look at each one with new eyes, because you now know what the rest of the world doesn't, that the most valuable coin in American history might be sitting in your house right now, waiting for you to notice what everyone else missed. And if you find it, your life will never be the same again. Thank you for staying with us through this entire countdown. Thank you for believing in the impossible. And remember, every penny is a possibility, every coin is a story, and the next great discovery could be yours. This is U.S. Coins Lab, signing off with the most shocking revelation we've ever shared, and we'll see you on the next hunt for hidden treasure.